be vulnerable. Allow yourself, give yourself permission to be vulnerable, and don't look at it as being small and that sort of negative perception of vulnerability. That's your power. That's how you will be able to move forwards and communicate and see all these amazing people around you trying to help you. That's how you'll be able to see the amazing opportunities and things out there for you.
Hello, everybody, and you're very welcome to the Empowering Family Health podcast. I am your host, Joanne Callahan, and today we have an incredible guest. I'm really, really excited to introduce Catriona Evans on the podcast today because Catriona is going to share with us her life story and how she overcame cancer and all the learnings that she came through as a result of this experience. So Catriona, you're very welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's so great. Catriona, listen, I am super excited. We spoke a couple of weeks ago and we had a very lengthy conversation all about your life story and everything that you've been through. And you truly inspired me, and I invited you onto this podcast to share your story. But before we dive into that, Catriona, can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you are really passionate about now in your life? So tell us a little bit of background.
Yeah, my job has changed quite a lot. I used to be in childcare, so couldn't be much more different now. I'm self-employed and I make chocolates and fudge, chocolate truffles. And yeah, I'm very passionate about making a go of that and spending time with my family because it's my second chance at life. And I decided I was not going to be that negative person anymore. I just really wanted to make a go of it for myself and for my family. So I'm loving doing that. And I must be honest, the very, very main part of making confectionery, I love the feedback. Love the feedback. I call them buzz moments because people are like, oh, that was really nice. Or I got a message the other day. I had a message the other day saying it was my cousin Stephanie. Oh, a friend of mine says that fudge is to die for, and I told her the little trick about getting the scissors, cutting it open so the kids don't hear it.
Oh, wow.
They don't hear the bang. So that's like a buzz moment. It's like, yay!
So, oh, wow.
I love making it. I love that feedback when I know it's really worked.
It sounds like so much fun, Catriona. How many children do you have?
I have got two boys. They're 11 and 16.
11 and 16. Oh, wow. Okay. So, and you're making fudge, so you don't want them eating all your fudge. That's so funny. That's so funny. Tell us, bring us back. So, how you came to become self-employed, because you say you used to work in childcare. So how did all that change? Bring us back to where that all started and your journey from through your cancer.
Yeah, well, like I said, the childcare was it was a nursery assistant and then a classroom assistant with special needs children. And then just 2013, I was diagnosed with throat cancer. So of course, the classroom job, that kind of after a while, just wasn't going to be going back. The cancer, that was all. The cancer itself and the thyroidectomy treatment was all fitted into 1 year. They were very on the ball. It was a long year but a short year.
Wow, didn't have much time to think about it, so it just all happened.
No, now you say that, I think that's I didn't deal with it at the time. Like I suppose like so many people, I just kind of let's get on with it. And then there was a big fallout afterwards. My focus was one, baking, and two, right, you know what, get on the ball here. I have a wedding to go to in Italy and I need to have the radioactive treatment out of the way so that I can fly to go to
So you were just focused on getting to this wedding.
It was like, let's go, because you know what? I'm going to Tuscany.
Yeah, I can hear this. Yeah.
So yeah, it was a very very long year, but at the same time so squeezed together. So yeah, that's kind of sort of how I moved from the classroom to being at home, and then being at home, it was just you have to find something to do. You know when you're dying to be off on holidays,
Yeah.
but after a while, it's like I want to go back to work.
Yeah.
Uh, well, I came back from Tuscany, and all of a sudden, just it all kind of hit me, what had happened. So that's when I started to have depression and anxiety, and I'm not even sure at what stage I was suicidal, but the self-harming and suicidal, all that. And what has really struck me as one of the massive takeaways, and with working with a lot of amazing people like, Pat Slattery, Donna Kennedy, is, do you
Mm.
know what? That's all past, that's done. And it's not who I am. I'm not any of those behaviors. None of that is me. Um, and I'm quite happy now to talk about it and tell people about it. But you know what? That is my past. That's all back there on the shelf. I can look at it and say it's done now, because such amazing things have grown from it.
Yeah, so you say you went through this whole journey and it was a whirlwind for that year that you were talking
Yeah,
about, and you were focused on this wedding, so you were kind of, I suppose, distracted, so you weren't really dealing with it as it was unfolding. So,
yeah,
and then of course you had lots of things come up then afterwards because the realization of what had happened. And then you had your family as well. So I'm sure your family were very worried. How did you deal with during the whole process? How did you feel with the family dynamics? Like how were you able to
yeah.
tell them, or did you feel comfortable telling them, or what was that all like?
I have probably a slight made up memory. Do you know when you don't quite remember something and you fill in the gaps of telling them? And I know we did, because we very deliberately, my partner and myself, we very deliberately made sure they knew exactly what was happening at their level.
Yeah.
So sort of at each stage we sat them down. This is what's happening. Um, we just did it as simply as we could. There's cancer and it's in my throat, but it's luckily we were able to hand on heart and tell them exactly it's not going to spread anywhere.
What did
And
cancer mean to your children? Like, did they see it as, because most people when
well,
the big C is like, well, death is going to come. How did
yeah,
they perceive cancer?
that was
How old were your children?
difficult at the time. Jack would have been he would have been about 10,
Yeah,
and so Luke would be about 5, coming up to
yeah,
6.
yeah. It's
It's
quite young.
very young, but we have had quite a bit of a history of it in the family. My dad had passed away from cancer, so they'd had the experience of loss, but they'd also had well, they hadn't had the experience. They weren't alive when my mum had breast cancer, but they knew that she had and had survived it. So we had that kind of they had a knowledge of both sides of things. Sorry, my cat's sneaking in.
Cool.
And so they did have as much of an understanding as a child that age can have.
Yeah, yeah, and I suppose their brains are, they just want to know that their mommy is okay and safe, and they obviously, there's a great bond there in your family, I can tell, and because it meant a lot to you how they were told and that they were informed as well. And I think when children are informed, that's half the battle.
Yeah, because they pick up when things aren't quite right. They pick up on it, and it's bad enough if they don't fully understand the situation. But if they have no idea, they just know that I keep disappearing off to places,
Yeah, that's
and they don't even know that it's to the hospital because of my throat, or any of that. It's difficult enough for them if they have that knowledge, but if they don't, they just know there's something is wrong. And when the dynamics aren't just affecting me and the boys, it's actually affecting me and my partner,
yeah.
then that's even worse, because what could go through their heads, you know,
Yeah, because this whole
what's
fear
happening.
element comes in, and fear is just, can extend into all sorts of negative emotions, and
Yeah,
there's anxiety comes with that, because I'm worried because you're not sure, you're not certain what's going to happen in the future and how things are going to unfold. So all that is there, it's present. And people deal with that differently, I suppose. And it's part of our safety. You know, if we feel safe, there's no fear. But obviously that was there. And one of the things that we were talking about earlier, Catriona, was the importance of being able to communicate and to express yourself, I suppose, communicating with your family. So you were telling them step by step as everything was progressing. So you were dealing with that yourself, and then you had to relay that with your family. So what was that process like? Because there's obviously new bits of information and treatments and what have you that you had to go through. So obviously you had to let that sink in first before you could relay it to your family. How did that all pan out? What was that like?
That was mature reflection, really was quite odd, and it's taught me a lot looking back on it, because I was great letting the boys know, but I wouldn't allow myself to feel it or think about it. I was great letting the boys know, but I wouldn't talk to my family about it. Um, I was, again, the only people really that I opened up to were the doctors, and even then it was quite tight about what I said.
Mm.
And so I believe the communication, when that started, that's what really saved me. So I think key things are vulnerability. You have to be vulnerable, because that's your power. It's so powerful. It's a huge strength, even though we look at it as a really word of being weak and you're very vulnerable. It's not, because it was when I was able to be vulnerable and open and say, do you know what? I'm self-harming here. I'm not coping.
Yeah.
I have stood in the middle of the road, and thankfully in a split second thought, what if it doesn't work? Then I'll just be stuck here with a broken leg. So that and it's what
Yeah.
that stopped me. So communication was so key then, because I told people this, and all of a sudden they were, oh, it was like, oh, now I know what's going on with her. Now these people could be here for me,
Mm,
and know that whilst they may not understand totally what's happening with me,
mm.
they wouldn't be under any illusion they were in control, but they knew that there was, psychological things, there were mental issues as well as the cancer. They knew,
There was circumstances underneath everything that
yeah,
was happening unfolding. And even though they didn't know quite again like what was going to happen or whatever, but they understood your vulnerability, I suppose, and where you were, and that there was a possibility of fear there because again, you didn't know what was going to happen, you didn't know and then you had all these suicidal tendencies. And to be able to reach out and ask for help and to actually tell people what was going on, that was a massive, I suppose that would take a lot of courage, Catriona, to be able to do something like that. And what I can hear as well, that your children were so important to you, or are so important to you,
oh
that
yeah,
you recognized that you had to ask for help. Despite of all this vulnerability and the fear, you embraced courage to be able to ask for help, to bring you through this process, because you loved your children dearly and you needed help. And quite often as parents, we see ourselves as up here on the pedestal, that we are the strongest ones type of thing, as parents. But
yeah,
what I can hear, even if you're a parent and you love your children, that we do need help at times as well.
yeah. I think that the real strength is allowing yourself to be vulnerable, to show that vulnerable side and open up, and that is the asking for help. To me, that's the real superpower of vulnerable, that you're able,
Yeah, that's so great.
to ask those people, like, I need you here, I need you to understand that this is what's going on in my life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And something else you said, Catriona, as well, we were talking earlier, when you were going through your radiation treatment, this really stood out for me, was as part of that treatment, people couldn't be in contact with you. and you had your
Yeah.
treatment done, and you were in this room all on your own, and there was a line. I remember you telling me, was that right? There was a line or something in your room that you weren't allowed past that line.
Yeah, I laughed so much because there was a doorway and a big thick line on the floor, but there was no door. And it was almost like this magic line was going to keep the radiation, just stop it right there. But yeah, there was a line that I couldn't have crossed, but it was more so for the nurses bringing food or whatever. They
Gotcha.
couldn't actually cross it. They had it so that they could just leave a tray of food around onto a counter.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a very hard time being on my own there that we talked about.
What
Yeah,
was that like? Like to that people couldn't be in contact with you, and then when you went home, you're telling me that you weren't allowed to hug your kids either. So, and as human beings, we need human contact.
it's one of our basic needs, and that's probably the hardest part I went through was to have to step back and tell them, no, we can't, you can't hug me. Um, and we have really, really, really good relationships. And so there was, it was really hard, but it was also um, a worry, would it be detrimental to the
Yeah.
relationship? If anything, it has strengthened it,
Yeah.
you know?
You knew that this was only going to be a few days or something like that. Wasn't that the case? It was just a few days?
Yeah,
But
yeah, I was
that
gone
felt
on a few
like
days.
that was like an eternity.
Oh yeah, yeah, it really did. It just felt like forever. And just even, can I sit in your knee just for a minute? And that was just,
How do you tell a child that you can't come near me, like, and you can't hug me?
yeah.
I
Isn't
can
it
really.
funny too? Because for so long, it would have been, oh, boys, they want a bedtime story. I'm really tired.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, come on, we'll do a bedtime story, okay?
My God, wow, wow. So that whole process, Catriona, was a year long, and then you got you got the all clear after a year, was it? Was that how it worked? Is that what happened?
Yeah, it's funny, they never said anything about remission. They just said, right, okay, because the full thyroidectomy in May, they took everything out, and all the nodes and
So
the thyroid.
your whole thyroid was taken out.
Yeah, yeah. And then the August was the radioactive therapy. A wee while after that, then just brought me in, and I don't remember the conversation, but basically it was just the treatment worked. And the treatment was just to blast anything that could have been left. So yeah, the word remission was never used, so it was just right, that worked, it's done.
Tell us that word remission. What does that word kind of do to you even now this day? Because that's a big word,
Yeah,
remission.
it's really funny. I never used it. People would have asked me, how are you? But look, I never used it. Not a conscious, I won't say that word. But it's just thinking back, not once did I say I was.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Maybe, now this is, I don't know, but maybe there's an element of, if I say it's remission, there's a chance it could come back. I
Yeah,
don't know. That's just me kind of wondering now, but I just
yeah.
never used
The
them.
subconscious mind is a funny old thing, isn't it? And I
Yeah,
can hear you didn't want to bring that word into your vocabulary because it may, what you focus on, you attract and all this kind of thing. So that's what I can hear. So am I, would I, do you have fear now, Catriona, or, that it could possibly return, or how are you feeling right now at this moment
yeah.
in time?
I feel really, really good about myself right now.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I really do. Um, I must be very truthful that I thought that I had kind of dealt with all the things and come through it. And funny enough, the cancer and things I have, but there's other stuff from the past that I have held on to, which is another thing that I got from all this was you have to face your feelings. I'm not just, it irks me somewhat when people say, face your fears and do it anyway.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
no, don't.
yeah.
No, don't do that. Face your fears, feel them. Quite possibly you have to put something in place before you deal with them.
I
You
love that.
have to, you have to feel them. And I think there were so many that I didn't, that I'm only now saying, "Do you know what, that's my past." And that's why I thank you so much to Donna Kennedy for really making me open my eyes to this and make a conscious decision. Is that all the other things that had happened from very early age that I was holding on to, thinking I dealt with them.
Yes.
I've sort of just put a big X through them now. If they come into my mind, big X, that's done.
I
Nothing to do with
really
me now.
totally can relate to what you're saying because, we live in everything is energy, right? Everything, even us,
Yeah,
even like you can see this physical being here, right? But we're made up of cells and particles, and it goes right down to energy. And people talk about this energetic field that we have, and you spoke about feelings, and so many people deny their feelings. They don't feel their feelings, and the feelings, when you feel the feelings, it turns into that's an emotion. So the feelings, I was listening to oh God, Tear, what was her name? What was her name? Uh, I can't remember her name now. But I was watching a YouTube video this morning. It was all about feelings and feeling the feelings, and it's in our emotional, it's in our energy field, in our body field, right?
yeah,
And if we don't deal with that, it gets more dense and dense, and it gets trapped in our body, in all our cells. And like anger and resentment, and if we don't deal with our feelings, if we don't feel our feelings and allow them to be. And I don't know if you've heard, Catriona, as well, about the heart and the Heart Mat Institute. I don't know if you look up some of their work.
yeah, yeah. I've
The
heard of that.
feelings and
Yeah,
the emotions, it goes through the heart first. So the heart has its own neurons, if you like, and it actually, there's been research shown that the heart actually feeds the brain the information. So the
yeah,
feelings come first and the emotions, and then the brain thinks accordingly. So I just think it's absolutely fascinating, and a lot of diseases, including cancer, is a very big part of not dealing with the feelings, like what you're saying there now.
yeah. Well, I could well imagine because so many things that came up when I went to counselling were nothing to do with cancer. Nothing.
Yeah,
It was stresses from years beforehand, and I just sort of thought, good grief, I'd carried about so much,
mm.
and it's just time now, and I've made that conscious decision to put it all down behind me, and that's
When,
it.
how long ago? It was 2013 when he got the cancer. So
Mm.
2014 was, not you got your all clear, but you didn't get that word remission, but like everything seemed to be okay then. The thyroid was removed and
The
everything.
thyroid was removed in 2014, and then that was May, was my birthday.
Go away.
I know, I know, and you wouldn't believe the amount of scarves I got.
Oh my God.
Really? Because you know when people going for in the hospital operation, she's gonna have a big scar on her throat.
And he got
You know,
loads.
she'll need scarves. I have got such a fetish for scarves now. But
Wow.
that's it. There's hardly anything.
That is
Hardly anything.
incredible.
Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I should have put my phone on silent. I'm going to do it now. I'm really sorry.
That's okay.
Um,
I wanted to ask you as well, Catriona. So now going forward, right? You said that there was a lot of anxiety and depression. That you went through all that as well. So that was another
mm,
part of, and and that can be really deep. You can get into a really deep hole, and all your energy is just very, very low. And as we were speaking earlier, that everything is energy, and we're energetic beings, we're electrical beings as well, right?
mm,
Um, and so after this whole process, you found, so obviously you'd no job, your childcare job was gone. So how did you transition then? What kind of work, or how did you get into the making the fudge and doing all the as a
yeah.
self-employed entrepreneur? How did that happen?
Yeah. Well, like I'm saying, you need to find that focus. And obviously during the thing itself, it was right, and the focus was mainly I'm going away. There was also baking because I knew that the year after, my cousin who was getting married, she would be coming over, and we were going to have a good old hula up at my mummy's
Lovely.
house. So I thought, I'd okay, I'm making her a cake. And I used to bake with my grandmother all the time when I was young. And so started focusing on baking. I baked and baked and baked and got lost in my baking, which turned into more of an obsession than a focus. Um, and kept doing that, kept doing that. I made her a cake, made her an Italian Genoese cake with tears on it and hydrangea flowers up the side, the gum paste shoe, and then about 70 cupcakes. And I kind of did like an Italian theme throughout it.
Wow.
So anyway, I did that. I thought, what else can I do? Because I honestly, I had baked for Britain. And I thought, right, okay, I'll try chocolates. So I taught myself then to make the chocolates, chocolate truffles, hand-painted chocolates. And I thought, you know what, I wonder, I don't know, I'd never made fudge before in my life. I never liked fudge because it was sticky and, it sticks in your teeth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, horrible,
But it's
horrible.
good.
Oh, and I thought, no, I could not. I don't like fudge, but I want to try. I don't know why I thought I want to try a really proper crumbly tablet one. So yeah, gave that a go. And when you make something, you go, wow, that works. I'll turn around to my partner. I did that.
I can hear such excitement in and curiosity
So
and
it was just, my goodness, I can, and all of a sudden then, the chocolates had already started to sell, and then the chocolates then were outsold, I
wow.
think 100% maybe, by the fudge, just it flew
Wow.
just
And
straight away.
and from there, so I can really hear that you found and there's a lot of creativity in what you did as well. So and to be able to access and use that part of the mind or the brain or whatever you want to call it, you just immersed yourself into all this fun and curiosity. That's what I can hear. And you really enjoyed it and you were excited about it and you were curious to learn new things. So you made that into a business then. And where did you meet Pat and Donna along the way?
I have been so fortunate at the beginning of 2020, I thought, right, this year, I'm going to push myself to meet people. I'm going to go to events. First of all, I'm going to go to an event. And then I'm going to go to an event and I'm going to make a point speaking to at least one person. Because much as I love to sit and chat one-to-one or to a few people, right, honestly, at an event I'm like that, I don't, I cannot speak to loads of people, which is ironic because I will stand and speak to 100 people.
Yeah.
I will sit and speak to people one-to-one like this. But for years, I would not, for love nor money, wouldn't have got into a conversation at an event or, even just with a group of people.
That's so brilliant. That is so
And so, yeah, 2020, I said, right, I'm going. And I watched somebody's podcast, Adam Strong, and he was interviewing Pat Sattery.
yeah.
And I know Pat and you know Pat. Do you know what he says? When's the best time
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
act? The best time is now. Opportunity comes to pause, not to pass. And he said on the podcast, he said, now, I encourage anybody to reach out to me. And when you know someone's genuine, really means it.
It was like
And
he was talking directly to you.
oh yeah, yeah. He's so passionate and I just thought, right, okay, I'm going to connect with him. I thought there's no way in this world, Catriona, that you connect with him and not straight away message him.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was almost like, he was so passionate about it when he said it, and you knew he really meant it. It would just be such a waste of time to contact him and not actually follow up on it.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was almost like, oh God, he'd be really cross if I did that. Didn't know the man. But at this stage it felt like, oh God, he'd be so annoyed. And if I was ever brave enough to do it again, no, done. So anyway, yeah, I did. I messaged him, would reach out, and he was saying about, he was going to be doing the Make It Happen in February, and I should call down. He's down obviously in Dublin, and I'm up in the west coast, Northern Ireland, County Antrim, and honestly, he said, we're just down the road.
Yeah.
well, fair enough. I suppose it's only about an hour.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought, yeah, I'm just going to book the tickets. No clue how I'm getting down there. I have no clue how I'm getting back. But I'm going.
But you just went. Yeah, you went. You just wanted to
So
be there, and that was it.
I just put it out, yeah, I'm going. And then a lovely lad, Kenny Faulkner,
Oh
turns
yeah.
he lives in Larne. So he came, stopped 6 o'clock in the morning. Do you remember Hurricane Kira?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was that during that, and he came, he picked me up, he brought me down to Dublin with great crack on the way down, and then he says, I don't know, he says if I'm staying over for a mastermind or if I'm coming back up. So it turned out he was staying, and he says, but don't be worried, he says, I've spoken to Pete here, are you okay to travel up with Pete London? And he'll leave you at the train station in Belfast.
Wow.
That'll
Wow.
do grand. That'll
Wow.
do right well. But you know what? Bless him. Pete dropped me my door.
Oh my God. You were well looked after.
I was so well looked after. That's where I was first really introduced to Pat. Because obviously he was speaking and Donna then was speaking as well. And I just thought, yeah, I'm going to be following those two.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I thought, I don't know how I'm going to connect with them. I don't know. And I was still very much, I don't know what can I even bring to this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
But
I
you knew
just,
that you had to be part of
I
it,
knew I was
and
going
everything
to
else would
work with
work out.
them.
Yeah.
Bless him, I went to Pat afterwards and I'm a hugger. I don't shake hands. There's none of that nonsense. No. I hug people. It's killing me with COVID that I can't hug.
Yeah. Yeah.
Killing me. So I gave Pat, I brought him down some of the fudge and I was saying that I would love to work with you, Pat. And I'm not in a position to do it right now, but I will. And then, dear love, I was saying goodbye and he went to shake my hands. It was silly.
Ah, yes. Ah, God.
So anyway, I left him with a hug and a packet of fudge. And I
It was
just
made up so.
really, yeah, I just kept sort of in touch and followed him. And then he started the Outstanding Network, which really lives up to its name and beyond.
Yeah, and that
You
only
know,
started temporarily at the beginning of COVID, and
yeah,
it's
it
still
was only
going. It's
supposed to
going
be for a
strong.
while.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah,
still going strong now. So you're involved, and you've done the masterminds with Pat, and you've worked with Donna as well,
yeah.
and they're going to be helping you. I believe you're going to be writing a book. Am I right?
Well, I had hoped I've done the mastermind with Pat and Donna are doing putting the pieces together.
Mm,
Course in a minute, which honestly, absolutely brilliant, brilliant. And they just go above and beyond. I would recommend anybody to do
yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Um, yeah, I was gutted. Donna brought Donna and 19 other very inspirational, talented people. I've actually read halfway through the book, uh, Be Live for Belief,
Yes,
and
fantastic book.
amazing book, amazing. I wish I had here hold it up, but I hadn't seen the post until later on, and Donna had said she was looking for co-authors, people with inspirational stories, and by the time I saw it and commented, she already had all the people.
Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I'd already decided I want to write my book because I took too much
You have a lot to share, Catriona.
from
Like,
that experience. Not the experience, that's not the important part of it. Not to dismiss it, but that's not, I've taken too much amazing learnings
and
from
something
this.
very interesting that you said as well was that I am not what happened to me. And a lot
Yeah,
of people, when they have they're diagnosed with something, they'll say, they'll make it part of them, where it's not who you are.
yeah,
It's a disease or whatever, or
yeah.
cancer, but it's not who you are. And that was something very big that you pointed out as well. And you really
Well,
distinguished that.
yeah. Well, I think from listening to Donna at Pat's Make It Happen, she talked, so some of the things she mentioned were about um, with her anorexia, with anorexia
Yeah.
anorexic behaviors. And I thought, that's what it was. It was depressive behaviors and anxiety-driven behaviors. And just recently then I've been able to say, you know what, yeah, that's what that was. And I make a really conscious effort, really, really conscious effort to just say, you know what, when I journal or when I'm doing my gratitudes or when I've been working with them on putting the pieces together, or just when I'm sitting, like I said, no, those were depressive behaviours, and not when I had depression or when I was anxious, because I thought, no, I need to make this so that those were separate to me. Those were the behaviours driven by that particular
Brilliant.
situation.
So great.
And it's
It's not who
funny,
you truly are.
yeah, it's not who I am at all. It's almost akin to saying, oh, here you introduce yourself, and I'm Catriona, I'm a mother of two, I'm married, but that's not who I am, that's my role.
Brilliant.
Well, it's akin to that. It's kind of like that was the situation.
Brilliant.
That's not who I am, I
Yeah,
suppose.
and that's a very big distinct, because when you realize who you are and who you are being compassionate, being loving, all those wonderful things, because your behaviors are derived from how you're being or who you're being.
Yeah,
And that's so great because it comes from inside us, as opposed to, because so many people, they behave or act from an external source. But when you can separate that and realize that you have the power, you have the choice to be a certain way and to come from a certain vibration. You can talk about vibrations or be loving or be kind or whatever. But when you're in that higher state of vibration, and then when you project that out onto all the people around you in your environment, and it gets infectious, it becomes
it
infectious,
does.
and
It
then they
does.
automatically are being that way as well.
Yeah, it's like when you go to an event, or when you're just even doing an online networking now this year, how often do you feel that vibration rise and rise and rise, and it's just the most fantastic feeling. It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah, and I love getting together, same as you, like going to those events, because
Yeah,
the energy is just so high, because
it is.
those people are looking for possibilities in their life, not focusing on what happened to me, that victim mentality, or everything that went wrong, or I can't do this, because they're all excuses and reasons, and they're a victim mentality. Whereas it's being accountable, it's working with people, asking for
Yeah,
help, what's next, blah blah blah, looking for solutions, like focusing on those things. And when there's a group of like-minded people like that, and the energy is there as well, it just really enhances who you
yeah,
are and what you want to achieve in your life.
totally. And that's exactly, you talk about the victim mentality. And it's funny, it was pointed out to me a few days ago that I need to be more mindful of not slipping back into the victim mindset, because after being in it for a very, very long time, even before the cancer,
Mm.
after being in it for a very, very long time now, I'm starting to make that really conscious effort. And even the other day when my partner was saying about something that was really negative or something, I said, no, doesn't serve me, this conversation. I've just put a big X through it here.
Wow, brilliant. Well,
I said, I've just put an X here. It's done. I said, do you know what that sounds like? You just X'd me out. You're like Simon Cowell sitting with a big buzzer in the corner.
oh, so great. And I
Yeah,
think you're so right, because when you, and look, we're human beings, and we're wired in this primitive part of the brain, right? But when you practice being conscious, as you say, and you practice it regularly, you'll catch these things a lot quicker. We may slip
yeah,
back, but you'll catch them a lot quicker, Catriona, and then you can get out of
you
it as
do.
well. You have the
Yeah,
tools, you know what's happening, and you can control what's going on, and those feelings and all that kind of stuff as
yeah.
well. It's just
I
so.
think choice, we choose, we have the choice, and choice has been a huge, played a huge part in things. And I don't think that we pay choice enough mind. We don't think of it. We just we go
Powerful.
along automatically.
Mm.
And when I was writing actually a while ago, I was writing down about, and I chose some, I don't remember exactly what I was writing about. Let's say I chose a marathon, but but I made this conscious choice. And in the book, yes, yeah, you read that right? Yeah, I chose, because we have that, and it's been the most powerful thing, because the more I've brought it into my life, even this past week, you want to see the amount of things that have been Simon Cowelled X behind me. It's
Yep.
gone, because they didn't serve me. They were just going to bring my vibrations down. And I thought, no, I'm very, very bloody minded, quite defiant. I tend to use it to my advantage.
Yeah, yeah. And I can hear that you're taking your power back. I can really hear that. Catriona, we're
Yeah.
coming near to the end. Tell us what is next. Tell us what is next in your life. What's going to happen next?
I think the next really big thing will be Jewel. I think it's going to be my book, which I hope to have done by the end of next November. And public speaking, I want to get out. I have taken so much. I've been so lucky to take so much from all the experiences I've gone through to not share them.
Ah, yes. Absolutely.
There's so much that I feel that I could help even just one, two people, then that would just be everything.
And you know what's so great as well is that when you're having a conversation with people, whether it's a one-to-one or a group setting or whatever, people will hear themselves in your conversation because we're so similar. There may be a different circumstance, but they'll hear themselves and see themselves in what it is that you have to share. And that is priceless, because there are a lot of people out there that are afraid to ask for help. But when they see you being vulnerable and sharing your story, it's an opportunity for them to ask for help. And it's just such a great way for you to be able to reach out and connect with people that way, because that is how we connect, and that's how relationships are formed. It's true empathy and hearing yourself and other people's conversations. It's just so powerful.
It is. I mean, that's why the word able is in vulnerable, because then you're able to let others in, you're able to communicate.
Oh my God, yeah, that's so great.
It's just brilliant. So yeah, that's my plan, I think, for the next.
So public speaking, and you also want to get out onto a lot of podcasts. So for any other podcasters listening in, reach out and grab Catriona. She wants to share her story. It's such a powerful and inspiring, uplifting story as well, and really just to show people what is possible in your life and how you can change your mind. I don't like call it mindset because it's very rigid, but like the power of the mind, we're so powerful beyond what we actually realize. And
it's very much about perception.
It is, because everyone's perception is different.
Huge.
Yeah. And your reality is based on your perception, what you see, your viewpoint, whatever. It's really important. We're near the end. One final question that I want to ask you, Catriona, if you were to share one really important piece of information to have people really be empowered in their lives, what would that one little thing that you would say to people to have them be empowered?
I think be vulnerable. Allow yourself, give yourself permission to be vulnerable, and don't look at it as being small and that sort of negative perception of vulnerability. That's your power. That's how you will be able to move forwards and communicate and see all these amazing people around you trying to help you. That's how you'll be able to see the amazing opportunities and things out there for you.
That's it. It opens up doors.
It's such a power.
Because by being vulnerable, what I can hear and what you're saying is that's what allows you to connect with other people. And again, back to the empathy again, because you have to have vulnerability, and then people can hear themselves in you, and it just opens up so much by being vulnerable.
It just took me a second to think, because I thought, you know what, there's so many things I've talked about, but on the base level, none of those things can happen until you step into the power of you being vulnerable.
Yes.
Because we can't do it on our own. Nobody can.
That's where your true self lies, if you like. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're not all perfect, but yet we are perfect.
we're perfectly imperfect.
Yeah, that's it. Absolutely. And it lies inside of that vulnerability, because that's how we learn and grow. We talk about failures and all of this, but that's where we learn, by that art of being vulnerable and allowing. And that's what allows everything else to come in. God, we can have a whole other conversation.
I could talk about it all forever. I really could.
Where can people find you, Catriona?
You can find me on Facebook If you go to just Catriona Briggs Evans, you'll find me there. Or you could email me at catriona.ce@gmail.com.
Okay, brilliant. And what I'll do is I'll put all those links in the show notes so people can reach out and have a conversation with you if they like. And you're in Pat Slattery's network as well. So
The
you can
Outstanding Network,
get into
tag
that
me in there.
if
Yeah,
you want to have a chat with you as well about that, because it's been a lifesaver for you. From what I
amazing.
hear. Yeah. So
I oh, or you could visit my website.
oh yeah, brilliant.
There's a thing. There's a thing. Shameless plug.
Yeah, give us
Cat,
your website.
Catriona-classic.co.uk.
And all your fudges and chocolates are there as well, aren't
Yeah,
they? And
yeah.
you do a skincare range as well. What's it called?
Well, it's my business as an independent tropic advisor.
Tropic.
Yeah, and it just is. Sorry, my son has just come downstairs and his
Oh,
onesie here.
that's
Sorry. Hi, sunshine.
good.
And Tropic is this amazing skincare thing. It really is, with hair care, makeup and things. And I'm not one for all the makeup and the skincare and all the rest of it, but I tried it to support a friend,
Yeah.
and
Part of
it
self-care
was,
really, isn't it?
yeah,
All of
it
that.
was absolutely amazing, and the difference that it made me feel. So
Oh,
then I became an ambassador then, because one, I fell in love with the product, but two, when I asked to know more about it, first of all, it was just mind blowing, the amount of things that they do for charities. So there were so many things aligned with me in that self-care and that all natural, no plastics and microbeads, and
yeah.
all all this absolutely amazing information I found out about it. It's another thing, to get in contact if you would like to be part of that, really, because
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
just
I can hear you
brilliant.
value all things natural as well, and
Yeah.
really looking after yourself. So you've that, and you've got your fudge and your chocolates that make you happy and excited.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
brilliant.
who
And other
won't
people
be
too.
happy? Chocolate and fudge, you can't
Yeah.
be unhappy.
Brilliant. I'll put all those links in the show notes below. Listen, Catriona, thank you so much for sharing your story and spending the time with us today. And listen, have a fantastic day.
Yes, you too, Joelle, and thank you so much for chatting. Really enjoyed it.
Okay, great. Talk to you
Okay,
later.
take care. Bye.